Every time you look at night, you see a moon. The moon always appears at night, but when it comes to seeing the different textures of the moon, it comes with some very much definition of the changes of the color. You can see the yellow moon. Sometimes you can either see the red moon. Now, the red moon is a very much a common thing of the red moon because it has a simulation of the red tint to it. It's freaky and eerie at the same time because you see every single of those kind of moons like that. But did you know they call this the blood moon? The blood moon is that something bad will happens at night, but who knows? It's very freaky. So this is something that I would tell you this, but this tale here is a fan fiction from one of the Paw Patrols. How does a Paw Patrol will handle this kind of stuff like this if there's a bad omen roaming around the entire Adventure Bay? So without further hesitate, this is a fan fiction of the Paw Patrol called The Blood Moon Massacre. But in my version, I call it The Bloodbath of the Reaper. A quick reminder is that this fanfiction contains blood and gore, including the violence suicidal attempt. But this is basically fanfiction, but I don't know who made this fanfiction, but I'm pretty sure this fanfiction is going to be so violent than you ever seen before. Thank you for listening.
Ryder and his pups had just returned from the Halloween party after rescuing the mayor and the others from the runaway ship. The moon was at its highest point in the night sky, shining its brilliant light. As Ryder walked through the entrance of the lookout, he yawned as he removed his golden night helmet. "Well, that was certainly an interesting Halloween," he said. "I'll say," added Rocky. "And what was with that ghost ship flying past the moon?" Rubble shivered at the mention of the ghost ship. "Don't talk about that. That was too scary," he said while taking off his costume. "Dude, I don't even know if I'll be able to sleep tonight," said Zuma, getting equally scared. "I had completely forgotten about that until you brought it up, Rocky," said Sky, looking a bit terrified. Don't worry, Sky. Super Chase is here to protect you," Chase told her, sounding very unsure of himself. Marshall covered his eyes while leaning toward the ground, shivering. Can Super Chase protect me too?" he said shakily. Ryder smiled sheepishly, watching his pups get worked up over something that he was sure wasn't a big deal. "Guys, calm down. There's a logical explanation to what we saw. There's no need to lose any sleep over it, he tried to reassure. And what's that? Asked an unconvinced Rubble. Ryder rubbed his chin, thinking quickly of a calming answer. Well, it could have just been a cloud. A cloud shaped exactly like a ghost ship? Rubble argued. I'm with Ryder, chimed in Rocky. I'm sure it was just a cloud. With all that went on tonight, it makes sense that our imaginations would run a little wild. But dude, we all saw it. It's pretty unlikely that all of us would imagine the same thing, Zuma countered. Not entirely. Sometimes our minds can perceive certain figures and images the same way another's mind would, explained Ryder. Exactly. Thank you, Ryder. Rocky co-signed smugly. Yeah, I'm still not convinced, said Rubble. Yeah! Marshall screamed, diving behind Chase, and clung to his leg, shivering. Marshall, it's just lightning, said Ryder. But the skies were clear not too long ago. That's too freaky, replied Sky. The 5 pups began to talk amongst each other with frightened faces. Rocky and Ryder turned to face each other before huffing. Ryder then faced the group again. I'm sure after a good night's rest, we'll all be able to process things more logically, he said. Ryder, can I sleep in the lookout tonight? Please, please, Marshall asked, giving him the puppy dog pout. The other 4 pups joined him as they faced Ryder and whimpered. Rocky rolled his eyes. Ryder stroked his chin. He knew it wouldn't help the situation if he told them that they had to sleep outside. All right, you can all sleep in here tonight, he replied. The 5 breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks, Ryder, said Marshall as he licked Ryder's hand. Well, I guess I'll be the only one sleeping in my pup house tonight, Rocky said smugly while walking off. If I see the ghost, I'll be sure to yelp for help, he joked while the lookout doors closed behind him. Well, pups, the rest of you should prepare for bed as well, Ryder said. The 5 pups slowly made their way to the entertainment room of the lookout. Ryder walked to the entrance doors of the lookout and stepped out. He looked to the sky and noticed that many clouds were starting to gather and that the moon had a rather eerie red tint to it. That's weird. I don't recall the weather forecast mentioning a storm for tonight, he thought to himself before returning into the lookout. Rocky was inside of his closed pup house, preparing to lie down. His costume was messily placed on the floor. He turned on a little nightlight before sitting on the floor and getting lost in his thoughts. As much as he didn't want to admit it, the other pups' counter-arguments on what they all saw had really gotten to him. He wanted to be brave and believe that it was all their imagination, but something kept tugging at the back of his mind, telling him otherwise. He felt lonely and secluded, locked inside of his pup house. He wanted to join the others, but after making fun of them while trying to cover his own fear, he simply didn't have the nerve to face them. Ryder's right, he said to himself. Maybe all we need is a good night's rest. He turned off the main light, leaving only the nightlight on. Within minutes, he drifted to sleep. Mayor Goodway was finishing off the last of some Halloween candy while sitting in her recliner, watching TV with a frightened expression. Oh, this late-night Halloween movie marathon is going to keep me up all night, she stated wearily before she continued to stuff her mouth. As she crunched on the next pieces of candy, the TV and power within her house shut off. Mayor Goodway jumped, with eyes darting back and forth across the room. Chicoletta? Are you messing with the fuse box again? The mayor questioned. Those who gaze at the moon as I pass shall soon find that night to be their last, uttered a mysterious voice. Who said that? The mayor asked as she became more uneasy. The sound of breaking glass coming from the kitchen was the only response she received. She was now in a complete panic. Wearing only her nightgown, she made a dash for the front door. Once her hand touched the doorknob, she began to call out to her beloved purse chicken. Chicoletta? Chicoletta? She called. Mommy's leaving. We need to get out of here. To the mayor's displeasure, there was no response from Chicoletta. She pulled out her cell phone and turned on the flashlight feature. Chicoletta? She called once more, her eyes searching the area. She moved the path of the light to the direction of the kitchen. She saw what looked to be loose feathers and gasped. She slowly crept closer to the kitchen, heart beating rapidly. Chicoletta? Are you in there, sweetums? The light shining from the cell phone was beginning to shake within her grasp. She stepped 1 foot into the kitchen and began to move the path of the light to the left. When she caught sight of something, she instantly froze and dropped her phone. What she caught sight of was Chicoletta's head, covered in blood, with glass shards lodged in her neck, eyes, and face. The rest of her body was under the debris of a dish cabinet that had somehow detached from the wall. The mayor screamed a scream that seemed to echo all throughout Adventure Bay.
Who's calling me at this hour? Mayor Goodway. I didn't know he could call me this hour after Halloween. Hello? Ryder, I need your help. What's the problem? It's just that I don't know what happened to Chicoletta because I was basically trying to leave, but then I basically don't know what happened, but just please come help. I know, I'm sorry I call you this hour, but I'm just saying. There's no, it's fine. We'll check out what's going on. No job is too big, no pup is too small. Paw Patrol to the lookout. Ryder needs us. That's strange. Mayor Goodway should not answer us during this late hours. Alright. We'll see what's up. After Ryder to turn on his mission control on his big screen and to see what's the conclusion. All 6 pups comes in with the tired expression on their faces. Paw Patrol ready for action, Ryder, sir, said Chase in his light yawn. Pups, I'm sorry I had to call you this hour. I understand you guys were trying to get ourselves some sleep, but turns out we got some little situation going on with Mayor Goodway. What kind of situation? I don't know. I had to find out. Guys? What's up with the moon? Zuma said as he stared out of the tower windows at the red glowing spear. That's a blood moon, shouted Rebel in a panic. Blood moon? Oh no, I'm really scared now. Super Chase didn't sign up for this. What's a blood moon? What? I think the moon looks good in red. Marshall, did you know that blood moon means that something bad is about to happen. Oh, replied his ears drooped. Pups, we need to focus on a mission, Ryder announced, bringing everyone's attention back. Ryder tapped his paw pad and brought up the big screen display. I received an emergency call from Mayor Goodway not too long ago. She seemed really distressed, or can I describe she was scared or something. She wouldn't stop crying and screaming. She kept repeating Chicoletta over and over, he said while the cartoon's image of her crying Mayor Goodway appeared on the screen. I couldn't make out anything else she was saying, but if I had to guess, I would say that Chicoletta must be in some kind of a trouble or something. He pressed another button on his pup pad with all the 6 pup tags appearing on the screen. Well, since we don't have any details, we'll go ahead to have all paws on deck, just in case. Great. Now some of us won't have to be left here alone, Rubble said. Slightly retrieved, getting a nod from the few of the others. All right. Paw Patrol is on. Ryder? What happened? I don't know. I think the power of the lookout has been shut down. That's eerie and strange, too. I didn't know it can automatically power it down itself. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's not supposed to.
Those who gaze upon the moon as I passed shall soon find that night to be their last.
The mysterious voice rang around the room of the lookout. Ah! I don't want to die! Rubble screamed as he ran off with tears in his eyes. Rubble, wait! Ryder called out to him. Rubble had enough. He sprinted to the slide and slid out the lookout. Unbeknownst to him, the rotation mechanism had rotated and moved Sky's pup house to the end of the slide. Sky's pup house transformed into her copter, and the propeller blades began to spin at an incredible speed. The others saw this from the tower window and tried desperately to call out to the bulldog. Nearing the end of the slide, Rubble's ears picked up the sound of the propeller. Ah! That's not my rig! He yelled as he frantically tried to move his paws as fast as he could and climb back up the slide. But to his disadvantage, his paws could not grip the slide. With tears in his eyes, he called for help. Ryder! The group watched in horror as fur, skin, flesh, and bones were torn apart from the bulldog's body, piece by piece from the bottom up. When nothing was left, the propeller blades slowed down and came to a complete stop. They were coated with blood and fleshy remains. Crimson-covered entrails decorated the copter, slide, grass, and concrete. Rubble's pup tag and collar were laid on the ground, shimmering in red with a chunk of the bulldog's neck fur attached to it. Sky bursted into a painful, heart-wrenching cry. Marshall sat with his paws on his head, eyes wide, frozen in shock with tears dripping down his cheeks. Rocky held his mouth to stop himself from spewing vomit while his tears flowed freely. Zuma and Chase were looking away, bawling their eyes out. Ryder himself just stood there motionless as he dropped his pup pad to the floor. I don't understand. How could that have happened? He asked, staring into space. This can't be real. He fell to his knees and covered his face with his hands, letting out sob after sob. Mayor Goodway was still weeping uncontrollably in the dark at the spot where a deceased Chicoletta lay. "Ryder, please hurry!" she wailed through tears. The lights began to flicker on and off again repeatedly.
"Those who gaze at the moon as I pass shall soon find that night to be their last,"
spoke the familiar voice. "No!" she screamed as she ran towards the front door. She tried to turn the knob, but found that it would not budge. She heard heavy footsteps coming from the kitchen, but when she turned her head to face the direction, no one was there. She kept her eyes peeled in the same direction as the footsteps sounded as if they were coming closer and closer. Mayor Goodway backed up against the front door, still waiting to see the source of the footsteps, when suddenly they stopped. The mayor was panting and breathing heavily. She closed her eyes as she tried to relax her breathing and calm herself. She opened her eyes and screamed. There before her stood a man dressed in pirate attire. He had a black beard that was drenched in blood, a sharp bloody hook that was shaped much like a curved knife, an eye patch over one eye, and the other eye was just a red eyeball, which had neither an iris nor pupil. Before the mayor could finish her scream, the mysterious man cut it short as he jabbed his hook deep into her neck and quickly but smoothly ripped it open. Crimson waves began to spew from the mayor's neck, staining her purely white nightgown, and trickle from her mouth, while her head tilted back as if it was a can opened by a can opener. Before her now lifeless body was able to hit the floor, the mysterious murderer vanished.